Hi everyone, my name is Mary Rains and this is my introduction video. My education and personal background, I was born and raised in Michigan, so I spent K through 12th grade in Sturgis Public Schools, which is in Sturgis, Michigan. I also went to college in Michigan at CMU, and I double majored in English and history with a secondary education emphasis. In 2017, I married Reed, my husband, and we now live in Hutchinson, Kansas. And my hobbies include, but are not limited to, traveling, and then I like to run and stay active, cooking, reading, writing, and then family and friends, or just hanging out with family and friends. So I included a picture of my family here, and then this is my husband Reed over here. My work history. So I thought it was important to note that my first teaching gig, if you will, was in my mom's first grade classroom, and I started when I was in fifth grade, where I'd come in after school and I'd help out and run small groups even and read with kids. And so I think that's pretty important to note that I kind of grew up doing that. My student teaching happened in Mount Pleasant, Michigan at the high school, and I taught English and history for that. After high school, I then moved to Great Bend, Kansas, and I taught 9th, 11th, and 12th grade English, and now I work at HMS 7 in Hutchinson, Kansas. And I've been here, or finished my 4th year this year, so I'm going into my 7th year of teaching and my 5th year at HMS 7. Some of the extracurriculars that I'm a part of, I listed there just so that you guys would kind of know what I'm involved in, but OCR Club, Stuco, Social Committee, NEA, and I'm also a mentor teacher for my building. My personal introspection, I chose to break this down a little bit because here's my life personal introspection and my overall about me and teaching. But I know that I am becoming a great teacher. I think all of us are becoming great teachers, but there's always room for improvement. And so if I had to pinpoint my strengths and weaknesses, and I try to be honest with myself about this, I think that I do have a strong skill set in differentiated instruction, and then also personal relationships with staff and students. And then also my knowledge of the content and technology does help me as a teacher. Although even in my strengths, I know that there are areas for me to improve upon. So again, operative word being becoming a great teacher. And then I also realize and recognize within myself that I need to work or improve on creating lessons that are real world and relevant to learners and that are cross-curricular as well. So maybe I can get my history degree and put that to good use. In teaching, I thought it was important just to think about the philosophies that I have for teaching and as I approach students. So the first one being every student can learn, maybe not in the same way or on the same day. I think Dr. Seuss said that. But I truly believe that every student can learn. It looks different for everyone. The other philosophy that I had when it comes to teaching is that you need to set high and achievable, so all high challenging goals, but also achievable for students, and that they will rise to those expectations that you have for them. My goals and reasons for getting my master's. So first off, the reason that I'm getting my master's, I included at the top. I don't want to become a stagnant teacher. I want to keep growing and perfecting my craft, and I truly believe in a growth mindset. And so that's why I chose to get this degree. Some of my goals, short term, I feel kind of bad actually. I don't, I'm getting my degree in ESOL or ELO. I know that I don't want to be an administrator, and I can't see myself getting out of the classroom anytime soon. So I feel that my goals are, I don't know what you want to call it, but I do like where I'm at. So I don't necessarily have this huge achievable goal that I'm working for. It's just getting better at what I'm doing now. So short-term goals would be to get my master's in ESOL and then to start a family. At some point, my husband and I would like to start a family pretty shortly. And then long-term would be redesign our curriculum and become an educational leader in my school. And so not necessarily stepping into like a reading specialist or instructional coach or any sort of administrative position, but just becoming a leader in my school. I included some of my city and school demographics because I found these pretty relevant, or they might be important for later to know where I'm coming from. So I teach English, and I'm just going to point your attention to um, the demographics about my school, but primarily all of the students that I get from year to year, the percentages change a little bit, but not a lot. So this is the trend that we're seeing. This past year, we had 29% of our students in tier 1, which is on grade level or above, and then we had 52% of our students that were 2 or more grade levels behind. However, I will say that a good portion of that 52% would be 4 or 5 grade levels behind. So that's kind of important to note when going forward and talking about data and how we use data to shape what we do. This is the section where I talk about like the data in Hutchinson Public Schools at HMS7 and my own background in it. But I thought it was really cool, this image that I found, or this quote that I found, that data will talk if you're willing to listen. So I think that's really important with anything, well, with anything that we do as teachers. If we're willing to really pay attention and listen to what the data is telling us, or what we are finding out, and then where do we go from that. But listening is the first step. So my reflection on school data use and analysis in my building. At HMS7 in the district, actually, we use iReady a lot, and also in our building we use AimsWeb, which is primarily, actually, our SPED department uses AimsWeb right now. It's not all students. We do the state assessment at the 7th grade level, and we also have at the 7th grade level a district writing assessment that we give our students, which is like a 5-paragraph essay that the district then collects the data on. Right now what we have in our school is a tiered system. So interventions, we have co-taught classes. In fact, I've taught at least one co-taught class ever since I've been at HMS7. We also have adaptive reading and guided studies. In my opinion, I think that we could definitely do a lot better job of looking at the data that we have, or communicating the data that we have. And I also know that next year we are trying to go away from iReady, and especially at the 7th grade building, I know the English and math teachers were not particularly fond of it. And there's been several times this year where I even question if I can trust the data or not. And so the way that our department took that is kind of in a different direction, because we want to be able to trust the data that we're getting. So what we do is that we pre and post test everything in the ELA department. We started these things called playlists, which are something that a STEM school in our district started, and they're all mastery-based learning. So they're by skills or by concepts, and they're given a pre-test, and then they're given ways to practice, and they're given the information and things to do with it, and then they're post-tested on everything, and they have to master that skill before they go on. And we found those to be very effective in our department. We also do a lot of small groups, or I know I specifically do a lot of small groups in my classroom, and that is all guided by the pre and post test. So I group either group students homogeneous or heterogeneous, depending on what the skill is, into small groups based on those tests, and somewhat in terms of the iReady scores as well for the overall grade level. But I wish that I had a stronger data point for that. We also differentiate a lot based on the pre and post tests and how they go about and learn the curriculum. My personal knowledge and use of data to inform my daily instruction, I kind of went over it a little bit But iReady data helps me set the trajectory for the year, and this is mostly by classes. So like for example, my co-taught class, I know that the majority of those kids are going to start a little bit further behind than some of my other classes that don't have as many IEPs in them. And so I go from there and start deciding what skills to start with, or look at their iReady or the data that I'm getting right off the bat to see, okay, where are they lacking and where do I need to take them. But again, that's more by class, and that's using iReady, and I don't always trust iReady, if I'm being completely honest, if you guys can't tell. If a student fails a post-test, so going back to what we were talking about pre and post-test as a department, they're given more one-on-one instruction or more practice resources. So I look at the data or that endpoint, and if they have not mastered it, then they go back and they redo things, or they get pulled by me in those small groups until they master it. I think that co-teaching really helps me with differentiated instruction and with looking at that data and knowing what to do with it, especially my co-teacher and I work very closely together, and I think that really helps when it comes to data, and knowing how to analyze the data is actually working on a team with it. And then the last thing I wanted to add is, for this, I feel like I don't know what I don't know. And so I know that I do, at least I'm starting to use data to form my instruction, but I'm sure there's a ton of stuff that I am just missing, or I don't know that I don't know it. So I'm pretty excited to see what I can take away from this class. Okay, so my proposed plan, first, get teachers training to teach interventions. I think in our district, yes, we do have interventions, but I know that, and we do have 2 interventionist teachers at the middle school level, one at the 7th grade building and one at the 8th grade building. But then I teach an intervention class, and so do the other 2 English teachers. And I don't feel like, even at this point, doing it year after year, that we've had adequate amount of training to really do that, because we were taught how to teach English. We weren't taught how to teach basic reading skills. And some of the kids that come to me, they have not even mastered phonics or phonemic awareness. And so a lot of it has been me finding resources to help me understand how to teach these students. And now I have a pretty decent grasp of it, but I would still love more training on it. So definitely train teachers. I think we do need more intervention teachers. Obviously, our data in our district is showing us that we need help in, at least from my standpoint, in reading or in English. And so if we're willing to listen to that, I feel like we really need more intervention teachers in our district. Also, get a data program that we can trust. So I am glad that we're moving away from iReady so that we can actually find something that we see valid data from, instead of wondering if I can trust this or not. Also, training on that data program. We had very little training on iReady when we were asked to implement it right off the bat. And so now, after year after year, I've gotten a little bit better at using it, but at first I had no idea how to use the program. So training on that data program. And last but not least, just communication of data from teacher to teacher and school to school. So a good system put into place, where we can actually talk about our kids and the data that we're getting from them and what we do about it, and really collaborate. Again, I put these 2 pictures on this slide because I thought it was significant. We need to trust the data that we're getting, and we also need to communicate about it. So that communication piece is key. So that's it. That's all I have for you guys. Thank you so much for watching my video, and I look forward to working with all of you guys for this class.